Good afternoon there, Mr. Dustin.
What is going on?
What is happening up there in Oklahoma?
Oh, same old, same old. Actually, I think we got a storm pushing in. It looks like from that way.
Oh, really?
Yep.
We
The
actually
wife,
got a little
the,
shower last night. It
the
was
wife
kind of
thinks that
unusual.
she's a weatherman sometimes and said that it's not going to happen, but it's been windy all day, and then you can look over here and see it coming. So I think we're going
Hmm.
to get hit. She may not know.
Yeah. Guys, as you click on, we're going to let everybody get in before we really get today's spot going good. But you know the drill. I see somebody already commented. Copy, crappie, 10K, crappie connection, Travis Ray hitting, Steven Sullivan. What's up, man? Good finish up there, Steven. I seen you did real well.
He
Congratulations.
did. He did. He did great. I actually visited with him now, and now I can put the name to the comment. Since you just said that, I'm like Sullivan. Ah, I remember now.
Yep. Appreciate everybody coming on as usual. Got a real good show tonight. Trying to get Mr. Lee Pitts. He's from Neely Henry, Alabama. Known Lee for some years now. Really good fisherman. He can do it all. He's a guide over there, so we're gonna get some different part of the world perspective on his today's bite and what's going on that side of the world.
Holden Higgs, what's going on, buddy? Hey, I forgot to ask you how you did at Broken Bow Lake, Holden. So how'd you do? A little fishing report from there, maybe. I'm guessing if I didn't hear too much about it, I'm guessing maybe it wasn't as good. We'll see. I
Yep.
hope we have a good fishing report for there.
Yep. See Mr. Here's Ginger coming in. Gregory, Jordan, Tim, Pat, Keith. There's Shane Jones, Scott,
There are
Rod,
more.
Buster. What's up, guys? Appreciate everybody coming on tonight. It's gonna be a real good show. Like I said, got a guest trying to get on right now with us, Lee Pitts, and got some other things I want to talk about tonight, and kind of some things I've been seeing on the Ross Barnett, the res down here this last couple of days, and even how I've seen some things starting to change, which has been real
Uh-oh.
fun time of year.
Is that a good or bad thing?
Good thing, real good thing. It
Gotcha.
today I had a guide trip, and I don't know, we kept in the 40s, fished about 4.5 hours, caught a lot of black crappie, a lot of white crappie, caught a lot of crappie. Period.
That's a heck of a time. It seems like the fishing's getting a little bit better.
You know, I think so. Uh,
Chad Rogers, you ain't wrong, buddy. I did get that butt whooping. Got it handed to me. That ain't my first time. It ain't my last time, but
Probably not. That's how a tournament is, isn't it?
for some people.
For some people. Reggie, Stanley, David. There's Matt England.
But I will
Ted
say,
G. Chad Wright. Appreciate everybody coming on again. And like I said,
Huckabee Rods. What's going on, Ken?
Mr. Ken's in.
Ken's in.
Ken's in. Go ahead and throw out your today's bite, and we'll wait and see if we get
I
Lee Pitts in here
I gotta
shortly.
say hi to Matt England too. I seen him pop up there. What's going on, Matt? My today's bite would be the latest one I fished, which was Truman. I've taken the last couple days to do maintenance on everything, get ready to get back after it guiding. Trailer tires, bearings, everything today. It just seems like it just adds up something else. But anyways, been doing that all day, tagging vehicles and everything. So, um, but Truman Lake, would it be Warsaw, Missouri? I guess it would be the closest place for that lake when you look if you look it up. What a fishery! It took us about 2 or 3 days of fishing hard to find the right pattern of fish, just because it was not a pattern I'm used to this time of year. The only
Mm,
thing I can put together is um, the murkiness of the water. It was really muddy water compared to what I'm used to here at Grand. Um, and they were Roman, all Roman fish. No, I mean
oh wow.
you could catch fish on timber, but your best bite was going to be in the middle of a channel, Roman fish, all through the trash fish and everything. You were finding a ton of one three quarter to 1 pound fish just loaded in the channel. That was our best bite. It was the most aggressive fish, and then you just had to more like even here at my lake, my home lake, you have to run into that big fish. It's almost like a not a luck of the draw, but you have to catch a lot of fish to get to the right fish. And it just didn't seem like one place was holding the giants. You had to just keep moving until you ran into the right ones. Uh,
Hmm.
Definitely an interesting lake, but a healthy lake. Every fish was just a butterball, super healthy, and uh, Most of them were pretty aggressive out there, just feeding on shad.
How deep were they?
We were in anywhere from 10 to 15 foot of water, and they were suspended anywhere from 4 to 10 foot deep, just off the bottom. But it was a crazy bite. About 75 to 79 degree water temperature. And like I said, roaming fish. I looked several places they should be on that timber, and we'd catch a few here and there, and there's no size to them. And pulled out, just kept pulling a little bit deeper, and got to the channel. The only thing I put together is the muddy water. They don't need the cover like they would here this time of year because they have that muddy water. And they were in, when I say trash fish, the screen was ricked plumb full of gar, drum, buffalo carp, everything. And you had to pick through all those. And those crappie were just floating in the middle of them. That's as thick as I've ever seen trash fish and been able to catch crappie through the trash fish. I mean, it was pretty impressive. You had to really study that screen. And I think my weakness of this tournament, I say weakness, we got a top 10 finish and cashed a check. So I'm not complaining by no means.
Yeah.
I just like to win. But my weakness there was I fished super fast, and the area we were fishing is you needed to slow down and take your time and look through things methodically. And I had a hard time doing that. So I probably should have slowed it down a little bit and really broke through those fish a lot slower. But other than that, we did well. Do what?
What colors were good?
Yeah, so I was gonna go through that. We dropped a lot of baits when we got a big fish that was picky. A lot of different color baits, orange chartreuse, a color that I'm super excited about coming out. We haven't quite came up with it yet, and man, I'm trying to think of the other ones. I'm thinking backtracking to what all we used. There were so many different colors. Anything with purple in it. Hummingbird was a good color. Oh man, you know as well as I do, when you get a fish that not bite, you just start pulling out packs. I don't know, like it wasn't even a certain color. It seemed like the profile, just changing through profiles. If you had a fish that didn't bite a tiny jig like the itty bits or something tiny, you could throw on something bigger, like a slab slayer or a minnow minder, and they'd hammer it. And then you'd go to the next fish and drop that big bait on it, and they would turn up to it and not eat it. You drop smaller when they eat it. So every fish was acting different, it seemed like. But you had to put it right on their nose. But if you got a fish to turn up, 9 times out of 10, that sucker was going to slam it pretty good.
We're going to try to help Lee get signed on here.
And Sullivan said he caught his 16 foot of water right off the bottom, which could be another 16 foot of water right on the bottom. So fish sitting on the bottom 16 foot could be another reason he handed it to me, because I wasn't in that deep of water.
Last week, my today's bite started back on the river and kind of moved back into some creek arms off of the barnet and some oxbows, and actually fished in some 7 to 9 foot of water, found some big black crappie in that depth, and actually caught probably the biggest hybrid crappie.
Oh, I've seen that.
Crappie Connection, I caught it. I wish I would have tagged it with a Crappie Forever tag. I didn't have my scale with me, so I couldn't get a good weight on it.
You sure that wasn't a black crappie?
I have a lot of opinions on that, and honestly, I think it was a total hybrid. It had the vertical bars, like a white crappie, then the speckled sides as far as the black crappie, and it was crazy. It was in a spot that had black crappie and white crappie, so it was in a community crappie hole, and they were mixed in there.
Truman Lake's full of those too.
I don't catch them too often, or I don't pay attention enough. I looked today really hard to see if I could catch any more, but that was probably just a beautiful fish. Turned it back loose. Like I said, I wish I would have tagged it. That is definitely a regret I have on that fish right there. Actually, I had a client last week catch a giant magnolia crappie too, with a black stripe up its head, another 2-pounder. Barnet right now, and I know a lot of guys at fish tournaments are probably watching it too. The Barnet has got a lot of quality fish in it right now. It's going to take some weight to win that tournament in October here. So,
someone asked me about that.
Yeah, it's going to take some weight for sure. These fish are very healthy. It could be one off black crappie or white crappie. They both are gigantic. Just really smoking the baits whenever you get into them.
It was actually Hayden's dad asked me about, said that they're coming there and asked me if I was going to fish it. I said, "Do you think I'm going to drive that far to fish Barnett tournament?"
You know, it's probably take 15 and a half, 16 pounds to win that one, I would
Holy
imagine.
smokes! Really?
Yeah,
That
yeah.
is awesome.
What I've seen the last week or so, these big fish are really putting on the weight, and they almost look like a pre-spawn fish. They've got such big guts and just building up that fat storage for the wintertime.
Mm-hmm.
You know, my bait of choice is still the itty bits, and goes back to it's white and chartreuse or bone white chartreuse itty bit slab hunters casting using a 16th, or either a 24th or a 32nd on the backside. The thing last week was the strike zone, and I talked a lot about it whenever I was on the boat with clients last week. Is how small the strike zone was. You know, I got out and single poled them some, and I really couldn't get them to bite it as well because they wanted that movement going away from them. But literally, we were aiming to actually hit those fish with the baits. And if you could get really, really close to them and you see a fish kind of, it would almost surprise them. And all of a sudden they'll whirl around and come up and get it. But if you come over the top of them, you know, 6 inches or even a foot, they would pretty much ignore it. But if you could get within that really small strike zone, and that's one of the really unique things that I say that's changed a lot with crappie fishing is now we realize more than ever with live sonar that the strike zone kind of comes and goes in that distance. You know, there's some days that, man, that strike zone might be 4 or 5 feet away from these fish.
Yeah.
But right now, that strike zone on the res or last week, and it kind of changed today. Like I said, I'm starting to see some things change on Barnett. But last week, literally, I had to cast for those fish, stay back off of them, and aim to hit them. I mean, we aimed to actually hit them with these jigs and startle them, and they'd come back and get it. Now, today, I went explored upriver, caught some great fish, caught a lot of black and white crappie, you know, just mixed in together. Anywhere from really, I'm going to say 12 foot of water down to about 18 foot of water where these fish are mainly sitting at. And there's some fish that just hugged up in some really deep, dark, mean, jig-eating cover, and you can't cast to them. And it'd be really hard to even dip on them because it's so thick. They're hugged up in there, but as the clouds kind of came in today, and it did upriver, actually got wet today, but those fish kind of eased out to those edges of these brush piles and these laydowns, and you could really, you know, they wanted to eat. And
is your water muddy right now, or is it
no? We have really clean water for Mississippi water. I mean, I'm talking 18 inches visibility probably.
Yeah, that's real good.
Yeah, and you know, I think these fish really can definitely see these baits farther than I once realized. But you know, like I said, it's that bone white chartreuse, and AKA we nicknamed it, some friends of mine, Dirty White Boy color. Maybe Bobby Gorman. I like that color name, but it's been a really good color.
If they come out with a color like that. So
yeah, it's a really good color, and it's been really phenomenal. You know, we're talking about how last week was, and now it's transitioning. That strike zone today went from last week being really trying to hit those fish to get their attention to now, like today, you could get 12 inches away from them and pull it away. Now they're still looking for movement. If it ever stopped, you know, the gig was up. And even that giant hybrid last week, that fish literally followed my bait 15 feet before it decided to hit it. That's and I'm crazy. Talking probably 3 feet in front of the trolling motor after pulling it way back. Trying to get Mr. Lee Pitts in. I see him signing in right now. We're going to see if we can get him in the stream here in a second. But I'm going to go back and we're going to look at some of these questions. I don't want to get too far from the questions. I see some really good fishing reports too.
Talking to the strike zone out there at Truman, Ken, when we were dropping on the fish, he would drop it and get it really close. And you, like you just said, you'd almost feel like you're touching them with the bait. We had to get it that close. Like the bait would almost disappear with the fuzz of the fish before it would turn up to see it. But if we could get them fish to start nosing up, they were going to slam the rod pretty good.
I'm going to go back. Like I said, I got a couple questions. I want to go back through those before I get too far away. I got Mr. Chuck here showing a question. Looking to upgrade on. Let me see if I'm trying to get my. I don't have my readers on. Considering a Mega Helix 9 side image and a Garmin head unit UDHI 93XV. Thoughts? You know, it goes back to mapping. If whatever lake you're fishing in, and if a really good mapping is available for the Garmin and the Humminbird, I'm gonna I would try to go all the way with Garmin personally at this point. I wouldn't try to differ, between the side image unit and then using a live sonar on a Garmin. I would really want to go all the way with Garmin. That way I can side scan and actually put it on my units too as I side scan. So I would try to stick to Garmin, just my personal preference. And let me see if I can get Lee here. I see him joining in, and I'm going to put him here in a second and let everybody meet Mr. Lee Pitts. But I see him got a thumbs up. Make sure I get him. I can hear you, Lee. We're going to put you on here in 1 second. Let me see. I'm trying to make sure I don't read over the question here. We'll come back to him. How about that?
There he is.
All right. Mr. Lee Pitts, can you hear us?
Man, I can hear you. I had to go outside and turn my rabbit ears out there a little bit. I wasn't getting good connection.
Lee, tell everybody where you're from, where you got at, and kind of about yourself a little bit. Like I said, I've known Lee a while.
Yeah, man, we've been buddies for a long time, man. We Bobby Garland men, and we've been buddies for a long time. But I'm here in North Alabama on the Great Weiss Lake and Lake Neely Henry. On the top 2 lakes of the Coosa chain, and I guide on those lakes. And I've been guiding for I hate to say it now, for 30 plus years. And we've been out there using these Bobby Garland products for a long time too. So that's what keeps them coming back. So that's what we staying with.
Hey, you've definitely
Amen to that.
Put a lot of fish in the boat through the years with them. There's no doubt in that. Lee, what kind of tell these guys watching and listening tonight? What's the strategies that you mainly crappie fish, from long lining or shooting docks? I know you're both good at those, so that's why I kind of hit them.
It's kind of a multiple. You and I have traveled a lot, going to some of these riders camps and some of these places, and we've been to in the heat of the summer to Texas and some of these other places in your home where you still catch them real good when it's hot. Here in Alabama, these fish, and I tell people, I have clients come in and say, hey, man, we're coming in and we want to catch some of these big old Weiss Lake slabs. We've heard about these big fish. We want to catch them. And I'll say, when you coming? Oh, we're coming in for the 4th of July. We want to come out then. I'm like, brother, you better buy you some more firecrackers, because that's going to be excitement right there. It's these fish just don't bunch up in the summertime here. Our main crappie season, I guess you would say, for most of the Coosa chain of lakes and Gunnersville, Chickamauga, and some of these places, you're looking at that cold weather stuff. You're looking at our springs kick off in January. When it's the first of the year, that first day, hey, we're spring fishing, and it'll roll through till about, I would say, the end of May. And then we don't get really back on them again. You can catch a few here and there. You can go on some of these bridges and drop some baits down at night and catch them under lights. But to really, really be productive, it's again that first little cool spell you get in October, when that water temperature starts dropping. These fish start bunching back up, and they get out there on that river channel. They get on these brush piles, and that's when it's more of a colder weather deal for us.
Is those lakes mainly black crappie, white crappie, or what do you have over there?
It's a real good mixture of both. I mean, we have, and usually that January, February, you're going to be catching more black crappie. As it goes along and the spawn's getting where they're starting to kind of position up, then you'll have your white crappie come in. It's just one of those deals. We don't, when it's just coming out of wintertime and these fish kind of start getting in the bends and the breaks and out there on the mouths of some of these bays, it's going to be your black crappie.
Oh,
Well,
I
there
think we just lost.
He just disappeared quick, didn't he?
We'll get Lee back on here in a second. I don't know what quite happened with that. You know, like I said, I think I met Lee Pitts, and he used to come to Grizzly quite often to do seminars up there as well with us. Some of you guys probably recognize him from Grizzly Jig, but like I said, he guys over there in Alabama right next to us.
I was going to ask if he ever fished that Logan Martin.
You can ask him here in a second. We'll get his opinion on it.
I bet he's fished around that area anyway. It's got to be pretty close, I'd imagine.
I know I had somebody ask about the Bandit 300 crankbaits, and I've got all 5 of them listed here. I actually still have them sitting on my little desk here, but if you guys want to see any of those colors of these crappie Bandit 300 crankbaits, the custom Bobby Garland colors, I can definitely show those. The coupon code to order those is still good at the moment, and I don't know if I have it on my notes or not on the screen, but all you got to do is go to lurenet.com, go to the custom paint shop, look under the Bobby Garland colors. There's 5 colors available. Hopefully this is something they keep doing, and we can suggest some different color crankbaits for the future for them to custom paint for them. But that code is Crappie Connection 15, and to get you 15% off. And you know, we always talk about all these great sponsors, from Top Hat Jigs to, you know, Mr. Ken there to B&M Bowls. You know, we've got some really good sponsors when it comes to the Crappie Connection. Try to support all these companies that help us out, and definitely look at those crankbaits. We'll see if we get Lee back on here.
Travis Goodwin's still fishing them good lakes. He said he's been to Hugo, and if I seen earlier, he said he went to Atoka too. So I can't see all that comment of the Hugo Lake one, but he said he fished at Hugo. Water temp was 81. Fished main lake, struggled to find concentration of fish, but I believe his quantity or his quality was better than his quantity. Yeah, you knocked me off there. Concentration of fish was hard to find. There it went again, but yeah.
You know,
thank you for the reports, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I got Lee. He's trying to sign back on right now, I've seen, but Charles Anderson asking me when would be a good time to long line on the res again. I think it's not quite there, but it's coming. Usually for me, as far as long lining jigs on the res, is about October. They should kick off really well. There'll be a lot more fish suspended in the channels and the creeks instead of holding so close to cover, and they'll want to chase them more and actually attack them better. And that strike zone will expand out from that nothing like it was last week to, you know, that 3 or 4 feet. So I think it's coming. I don't think we're quite ready yet to pull jigs and catch a lot of fish.
What water temp does it hit for you to feel like you're in a fall pattern?
You know, for me, myself, anytime you get under 80 degrees, I think you're getting into a fall pattern. Really? Today I seen, you know, 82, 84 degrees. Like I said, I fished above 43 a little bit last week, and like I said, today that's actually where I was upriver above 43, and those fish are still holding on the structure or close to it, kind of dependent on the sunlight. Another thing that I noticed over the past week, and it comes to the bait fish. All summer, bait fish have just been completely everywhere in the lake, and they still are. But I noticed, and seems like the numbers of bait fish is actually starting to get down a little bit, and they're starting to huddle up together, which tells me when I see those that those fish are, those bait fish are starting to get scared for their lives. So, you know, that's a good sign to me.
Oh, Chris Lindenberg. How's it going, Chris? He said it's good to see Lee again.
Yeah. I've just been putting there. We've been putting.
Speaking of him, there he is.
There's Lee back. He kind of dipped out.
Chris had to bring me back on.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. Lee, what I was going to ask you a minute ago, you know, when it comes to techniques, what are some of the techniques that you utilize over there, White Lake and Neely Henry and stuff?
Well, that's what I was telling you about. It's kind of a multiple of your long lining. We do a lot of vertical dropping, you know, just getting right over the top of them, and the dock shooting. We have so many docks around this area, not only your floating docks, but permanent docks also. And it's one of those things that we're typically shallower lakes here, like you are yourself. But when we can get around those docks 3 to 6 feet, our October, November is a real good time, and also that April and May is a good time to shoot these docks.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, and I know you're gonna spit them out for me. If you had to name your top 3 colors for your lake, for let's say Weiss and Neely Henley, what would be your top 3 colors?
Okay, I know what you want me to say first, but we're typically staying late. Bluegrass. All right, and this is going to be another one right here. Cajun cricket.
Oh yeah,
that's a good one. And when it gets colder, that blue ice. We got some tributaries that has some cleaner water. That blue ice is a killer here too. And monkey milk's going to be good anywhere.
Yeah, oh yeah. Would that be for both of those lakes?
Yeah, both of them. And it's something with that Coosa color, that what we've got here, those colors tend to be, and you can throw a black and chartreuse with that too, because it works anywhere all the time. But that's just something that around here is our go-to.
Chad, actually, I think somebody agreed with you. Best times to fish those lakes would be over in the wintertime, October through January is their favorite time. That was Chad. He commented on there.
So, Lee, have you fished Logan Martin yet?
I have. Logan Martin, like I said, that is the next lake down on our chain of lakes. And Logan Martin keeps the Coosa reputation. It's a great fishery. A lot of fish, a good mixture of blacks and whites also. And, the thing that happens with once you leave Weiss and go to Neely, Logan, and some of these other lakes, we're a 10-inch limit.
Oh,
and
yeah.
So, it's got to be 10 or better to keep it. And a lot of these guys that travel to us, they want to catch a big one, but they want to catch a cooler full to get a picture to show all them guys back home when they go home.
Exactly right.
Let's see if I got any more questions from you there. There's the Crappie Expo is coming up in a couple of weeks down there. What kind of weight do those guys need to expect as far as a 7-fish limit coming out of that Logan Martin, in your opinion?
This time of year, it's tough. September and that early October is tough everywhere. You're not going to look at the big weights are going to come in here, but I think 14, 15 pounds, something like that,
That's a pretty dang big weight.
Yeah, I mean it is, but you're not going to catch many of those. It's going to be, but some of these guys, like I said, now with the forward-facing sonar and the fish that aren't really holding on that brush, or they're kind of tucked in there, like you said earlier. I was listening to you. That strike zone shrinks up, and when he's there, you can spend a whole lot more time on him. But it's going to be one of those deals. The fish aren't going to want to chase a lot. They're going to be tight to cover. They're going to hold the cover, and I think it's going to be kind of a grind with it just getting cool.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: whitefish or blackfish?
It's going to be black. They may be some of your bigger fish out there on the river channels may be some whitefish, but a lot of them is going to be them blackfish.
Gotcha. That's kind of what I figured. I didn't think it'd take 14, 15 pounds, but I did think it was going to be all blacks the way it was.
Well, and what I'm saying, it may not be. They may have 5 2-pounders and then some, 12 inch.
I got you.
So
yeah.
I got a question. Both of you guys can chime in.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Got a little question. No problem. Seth's asking, his home lake is 12 foot low and dropping. How will this affect the crappie going into the fall and winter? I've got a good opinion on this, I believe.
Go ahead, then. You got it.
My opinion would actually be it would probably help your fishery out, because it's going to concentrate that bait fish even more. And you think of the Grenada and these the Big Four in Mississippi, those lakes shrink down probably by I don't know. I'm gonna say Grenada from 40,000 acres to about 28,000. So it shrinks about in half in size. But I think that actually helps that lake grow those giants because it concentrates all that bait fish together and makes it easy pickings for those fish. So it actually could help out your lake. Now, I wouldn't want to look at that same scenario going into the spring as far as the spawn goes, but as far as the fall and winter fishing, you probably had the time of your life this year. I don't know.
Yeah, it definitely can narrow them down, no doubt about that. 12-foot low is a huge difference too, so it might drag them all down when they get in that channel. You kind of get them all narrowed because usually when you get into just kind of like the way Truman was set up, it was a few foot low, and everything we usually fish is almost out of water, if not a foot and a half, 2 foot. But it would almost all run off into a 5 to 10 foot ditch from the channel.
Mhm.
And it seemed like everything, including the trash fish and everything, were right in the middle of that channel, the ditch. So that
Mhm.
could definitely help your fishing, like you said. But it'd help a lot more if you can't put in on the lake. If nobody can fish the lake and it's that
Yeah.
low, go find a new lake and then wait for that one next year because it's going to be popping.
Yeah. Even
But I
that
think you're
same
right.
scenario, I would say try to take advantage of that low water and put you out some brush piles in that depth of water for springtime.
Oh, that's true too. That is
It
true
would
too.
be it's a whole lot easier to put in stake beds and such when there's dirt below your feet. So
For sure.
I would try to take advantage of that and actually go ahead and do that. Chris Hall. No, it's
Oh,
Helen.
I can answer Chris Hall here for that one.
Go ahead.
All right. He said, for long lining, do you have a preference for tail action, curly tail, boot tail, or straight, etc., based on the time of year? We definitely around here like to do we like to have a lot of tail action. We throw we, gosh dang it, what is the name of them? You use the same ones every single time, and stroller. We use this Bobby Garland strollers. They give the perfect tail action for pulling jigs. So give those a check. And let me tell you, he does nothing but pull the strollers. So those things work. And there is not a color that you can't find that will work at that time. So those strollers are a killer bait. Have the perfect tail action to pull and to get down there at the right depth.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm comfortable with as far as the depth range they go at, and I can pretty much zone in really quick to that bait. If you're wanting to learn long line, stick with one tail action, whether it's a straight tail or anything else. But me personally, the stroller catches fish everywhere I've ever been, so there was never been no need for me to change when it comes to long line jigs. Um, you know, we have manipulated if fish got really, really shallow in the water column. And I have pulled 3-inch slab slayers just because the buoyancy would bring them up higher in the water column. That's
Oh,
the
man.
only time I can say I never downsize. I just don't think they could see them coming by at the speed that I'm trolling, an 80 bit or a really
Doesn't
small bait.
give
And
as much vibration.
without that tail action, in my mind, it's just would be really hard for those fish to locate those baits. So
That's why I think the stroller works so good. It gives a lot of thump and vibration with that tail. Kind of catches their eye from further away.
Well, we've got another good.
So, see, I didn't even know you could use straight tail pulling. Like I figured they would swim kind of. It'd be hard to get them to swim straight.
Yeah, Greg's asking. He said, "What's your opinion on the length of days and ways to change way it changes the bite in the fall and the spring?" It's kind of like the deer, all the animals, and I think they can. I mean, I noticed this past week that the daylight's actually starting to go in the opposite direction, which I am ready for. But I think it'll make them more aggressive as that water temperature calms down, cools down, and stabilizes. And I'm looking forward to the fall. In September, August has been so hot. Fishing's been great. And they've been stubborn. They made you work for them. I mean, we've had a finesse crappie fish for the last month and a half. And like I said earlier, the strike zone's very small. You got to almost hit the fish with the baits to get their attention. But in the fall, they're wanting to start feeding up and getting that fat built up for that cool weather. So they'll get a lot more aggressive, and all the shad that's been in the lake, as these fish eat every day, from the catfish to the bass to everything else in the lake, that population of shad is getting dwindled down, which is a good thing for us.
And our small fry that we were struggling with so bad, going through the baits or the balls of bait going through your crappie and getting the crappie to bite. And those small fry are finally getting big enough to where they're not as much as a meal choice for those crappie, which helps us a lot as well.
Yeah.
I always think once they're tiny, crappie love them, and they get to a certain size, they're harder to catch and harder to eat. So then they start getting a little bit more hungry because they have a full-time buffet during the heat of that summer when we have that fry hatch, and then they start getting bigger and bigger. I feel like that has something to do with it too.
You know, I was seeing Chad Rogers. He said, put a hummingbird on an ATV and waypoints. You know, I had and I still have Lowrance as far as my mapping and my waypoints, but I had a handheld Lowrance that I could take around and hit waypoints and throw it back just a pocket one at a time. And I think it was H2OC Lowrance handheld unit. And I mean, I have a Navionics map on it and everything else, but it was really good for that low water period to take advantage of it.
Jeffrey Smith, I definitely feel the pain there, buddy. He said October and November is his favorite time to crappie fish, but deer hunting gets in the way in November. So after he gets a good buck and doe, it's crappie the rest of the time. So thankfully around here, I think God's looking out for me, put me in the right place. Grand starts to get a little tougher come October, November. And I think it's because he knows how much I love to chase those deer. So I really get hooked up on chasing them rascals. But there is a few lakes that do super good during October, November around us.
Have you ever noticed a shad migration in that lake?
Man, I have not.
You know, that's one thing that we used to really key in on, and I'm looking forward to. You know, you'll start seeing the shad migrate here on Ross Barnett on the upper end of the lake. And literally the fish from the main lake, not all of them, but they'll start doing them shad migration. You know, probably my favorite times to fish is still in November and December. And it's because of those fish start following the shad migration up the lake. I think they're just going to that warmer, you know, water temperature up there. But a shad migration can be very key when it comes to fall fishing. If you go in an area and you've noticed that there's no shad, and I don't see the crappie that used to be sitting on this brush pile, start looking up in that. If you got a river system that feeds it, a lot of times that shad migration will start heading up that river system. So it's a really good key when it comes into the fall/winter period that we're all looking forward to, I believe.
Josh Bolware, my Grand Lake buddy, he said they're piling up on brush 12 to 17 foot of water, dropping straight down on them. Super light bite. You have to really pay attention or you'll never feel them hit. Yeah, that is a fact. You can be, it's almost like I always say it's a pressure bite that you'll feel sometimes. It's almost like you just feel a difference when you're reeling it back. It looked like Philip Lamar needs someone to keep his tree stand occupied since he said he stopped hunting and he's just crappie fishing now. So you get a hold of me and I can keep that taken care of for you, buddy. Especially if you got some good land with big bucks on it. We can figure something out. I hate to hear that, but I can definitely take care of it.
Trying to jump up a deer hunting spot. I mean, look at the deer behind you, man. Come poach in your living room.
Oh, man.
You know, any reports from Sardis? Ricky's asking for some fish reports from Sardis. You know, Sardis is always good, I think.
I was going to say, I've heard some good reports of it, but I haven't heard any tonight. The last couple I've heard, though, people are cracking them pretty good. And I think long lining and spider rigging both, they're doing really well on Sardis. That lake seems to always do pretty dang good.
Jesse Meadows, a little late tonight, man. You said it, and I wasn't going to call you out until you actually said it on the comments, so I'm going to have to call you out. But appreciate you joining in with us.
Better late than never.
We're going to see if Lee can get back on here. I know he's having some internet issues, so kind of bear with Lee, but you know, like I said,
at least he could come in and say bye to everybody.
I'm sure he's trying. I mean, it's hectic. Believe me, I know all about internet issues.
Oh, yeah. Yes. If you guys have been through this ride, you've seen Brad disappear a few times. We turned into the Blue Man band, and I've had to kind of take the reins myself here.
And you did good.
Yeah.
Like I say every week, we got Crappie Connection gear and Crappie Forever gear, all available on crappieforever.com. Make sure you guys take advantage of that. Also, special thanks to Bobby Grown Baits for doing this every single week for us guys. You know, they got some cool things coming out here shortly. And like I said, definitely want to
Speaking of, we're going to shoot some
Fancy.
video. Or I'm actually loading up tomorrow and going to, where did I tell you? Somewhere in Oklahoma, 3.5 hours from here. And we're going to do some awesome video for you guys. Got some good stuff coming. So I'm taking off tomorrow. That's why I was doing all that maintenance, get everything tidied up, and hopefully go catch us some crappie and really load the boat with it. So we'll see. Shoot several videos for you guys and maybe get some new stuff rocking. So I'm excited. I'm pretty pumped. Long drive, but I'm excited.
Marty, we'll have to join you in. Are you fishing with Toledo Bend a lot? I fished Toledo Bend several years ago, and man, that is a great fishery. You talked about great fisheries as well. That Toledo Bend has some definitely great crappie fishing there.
He said, I wish someone on Toledo Bend would do a show like this. Yeah. Hey, actually, I think I know somebody that might be a Toledo Bend, maybe. We'll see. Maybe.
We'll see what Dusty can pull out of his hat next week.
Yeah, maybe I'll pull something out of my hat. You never know.
Let's see. On YouTube, we're about, I looked this afternoon, it's 9,053. So we're getting a little bit closer to that 10K crappie connection. My goal for 2023 is to hit 10K on the crappie connection when it comes to YouTube. So anybody watching on YouTube, please subscribe and let's help us get to that 10K crappie connection. I appreciate every single person that comes on here. Got some really good guys that come on every week. I can't even go through all of them, but I mean, from Chad Rogers to John Mayo to, you name it. It's really good fishermen that come on here. So if you got questions when it comes to crappie fishing, that's what we're here for. Whether it's how to tie a loop knot, and that's the guide trip I did today. I think I tied my loop knot probably about 50 times just to show them how to do it. So we're here to actually help you guys learn something. And, if I don't know the answer and Dustin doesn't know it, I can tell you what, I will find the guest to show it. Just like standing timber or some things that I'm not really all that I do a lot. That's why we had a podcast last week with those guys. And they dropped some knowledge before Live Scope. Those two guys were hammers when it comes to that. Chris Mann and John Harrison, both of them are top tier pre-Live Scope.
There's a lot of standing timber in the old res.
It is a lot of timber, standing timber. I never go into standing timber. There's too much other stuff for me to place, get out there and fish, but I'm just not a big standing timber kind of guy.
Charles and Chris Garrett, I'm excited for the video too. Thankfully, this will really go through because it's going to be the one of the guys from Bobby Garland videoing it and doing all the editing. So I'll have to see what platform it's going to be on. I know YouTube will be one of them, but there's going to be, I bet LureNet will have some stuff on it, lurenet.com, but it'll be probably out a week or two anyway. So, but it'll be some good stuff. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Going to get after it. I got a decent video shot at Truman Lake, catching some fish there. Just kind of looking for fish in the first day we got there. So I'll have to put that on there soon too.
Even on the Facebook side of things, guys, I've got to ask you guys, like you ask us to do shows and different things, I try to accommodate. Make sure you hit that follow button on Facebook. I think we're about 75 people away from hitting 45,000 followers on Facebook. Everybody asks, did we pay for somebody to do that? Those bots and stuff. Now, we probably have some bots just because it's a thing of Facebook right now. But no, these are people that love crappie fishing that joined in and followed us. We want you guys to be part of this brotherhood, so make sure you come on with us.
Philip Lamar said we need to do a boat show and tell. That would be pretty cool. Maybe one day just be sitting in the boat, kind of do a boat walkthrough. Maybe we'll do that sometime. That would be cool. My boat's a lot cooler than Brad's, but you can still see what he has to offer.
Yeah, I mean, they're different machines, but I mean, both of them catch a lot of fish for it.
Yeah, mine definitely is nothing fancy. Definitely not. It's just definitely a basic setup for just guiding. Like it's just a big old metal barge we all throw up and spot lock on a brush pile or chase those roaming fish around. But I definitely would love to walk you guys through it sometime. I'm proud of her. She's done me well.
2 weeks, and I don't know the actual booth number yet, but we will. The Crappie Connection will be at the Crappie Expo down in Birmingham, and I think John Mayo mentioned about that. We're trying to get some Crappie Connection stickers together to give you guys. So, and as that gets closer, I should have all that stuff locked in together and ready to go. But we'll have some Crappie Connection stickers to give away to all our subscribers. So make sure you guys, when you come down to the Crappie Expo, come over to our booth and, chew the bull with us a little bit and shoot the, what.
I think I think Travis asked me where I was going. I think it's Colgate, Oklahoma. I'd have to secure that. But what's close to Colgate has some good fishing. You guys got to hit me with a lake. I know Travis probably knows one out there. I think he's towards that area. I bet Atoka ain't far. I might have to pay something a visit before I come home. We'll see.
Johnny Jones, in your opinion, what's the next big item you foresee? Power pole, spot lock, live scope. What's next?
Oh, that's a good question. Really good question. I am saying a next level live scope. Unfortunately, I wish it would stop where it's at because it's as good enough as if someone put enough time into it, they could be great. But I'm thinking they're trying to get to where you don't have to put time in to be great, and that's going to kind of stink for the people that put a lot of time in, I guess. So I'm thinking this is just an opinion. If they were going to do something, I'm thinking they're going to color coat the fish on live scope, color code them. So when you're looking at them, a crappie will be like, you can color code them. Crappie's orange, a gar's red. They have all different colors. That's just something that I think would be crazy. Something cool would be next.
I think it's going to be electronics. I mean, electronics has definitely taken over the crappie fishing world in the last 5 years or 6 years.
What electronics could there possibly be, though?
I mean, they're just going to keep getting clearer and clearer. I mean, it's just kind of like internet service or anything else. I mean, it's just going to keep getting better, faster, and cleaner.
That's crazy.
And I see somebody
voice
said
command trolling motor.
That would be pretty neat.
That would be cool, and I could definitely see that coming before my color-coded crappie. So
I think we're going to be able to link up trolling motors and electronics even better. That way you can chase down fish. I mean, the poor fish are not going to have a chance as we get better more and more.
Voice commanding like just the Garmin, I bet you could do all that for sure.
I want to go back and see something too. Chad Rogers, I think he knows this question, the answer to this question already, but it's a good one to bring up. Grenada water temperature was 77 degrees this past weekend. Time to transition from summer baits. My thing when it comes to transitioning at that time is as they get more aggressive, I'm going to upsize my baits. These lighter, finicky bites, I'm going to stay to smaller profiles. But as the aggressiveness of these fish increase, I feel like I can increase the size of baits. That's kind of what I see when it comes to profiles and things going from the summertime to the wintertime. If they're really lethargic and you're having to bump them in the head like last week, and this week's that strike zone is getting a little bit better, I'm going to transition into bigger baits as they get more aggressive. That way I feel like they can see a little further in different factors, but that's my take on that question. He probably knew that already, I'm sure. Chad Rogers is a stick. Even if when he falls out of the boat, he's still a stick. He knows what I'm talking about.
Travis Goodwin already fished. He said he fished Colgate a while back with no luck and then didn't stay long and headed up and went to Atoka. Maybe I'll pay Atoka a visit. I really wanted to fish that lake a long time, so we'll see.
What happened there? A little glitch there. John Breland, I seen he went down the river, and John, I seen your post. Looked like y'all whacked him. Did y'all go below the spillway? Are you ready to let out that secret? My boat won't go below the spillway, but I seen you smoked them, you and Chris this past weekend. I would love just to know that, and I'm sure other guys would too.
Pat Robbins said, are some of the bigger bass fishermen trying to get live scope banned? And then someone else asked, is live scope going to get banned and is going to ban the tournament and guides? I don't see it getting banned as in far as just us using it or guiding with it, but I could see tournaments maybe starting to. I could see tournaments cutting it off, especially Bass World. But we'll see if big enough people got to make those decisions. Though people like me or ain't gonna make those decisions. I guess.
Yeah.
We'll see.
You know, that's very interesting, and it kind of depends on
big debate,
participation and everything else when it comes to tournaments. And I'm not in the tournament world, so I really can't speak what's going good or what's going bad when it comes to tournament fishing. I believe the crappie fishing in general as a whole is still growing. Absolutely. And that's the best thing about it to me is we're still trying to help the sport grow no matter about that side of things. Forward facing sonar, I don't believe is going anywhere. It's just it's brought in people to the sport of crappie fishing, and I think it could hurt lakes, and I think it will hurt the lakes. I'll say that straight out. I don't think it can hurt every lake, but I think there is lakes that it can hurt, smaller bodies of water and things like that. I think it's going to be up to the fish biologists to kind of really stay on top of that subject when it comes to different lakes and different krill limits and daily catches and all that kind of good stuff, to stay on top of that. And, I think it falls back into our arms as sportsmen, as crappie fishermen, to speak up when we see things that are not going right, from people keeping undersized fish or keeping too many fish, or if you see a lake's hurt. And I can tell you way before LiveScope going along, I knew my local biologist pretty well, especially for Lake Washington, because I thought that lake was getting hurt. And so I spoke up and not toot my own horn, but that's what I think we all should do. If you see a lake's getting hurt, speak up and let them know. Let them know what you're seeing. And these guys, they're getting paid to make these lakes better. And they're going to have to keep up with the technology on that side of things. And I know for a fact that the biologists in Mississippi are doing studies on some of that as far as the difference LiveScope's making on the catch ratios. We all know that crappie fish a lot, that the catch ratios are way higher than they were pre-LiveScope.
Yeah.
But I think we just owe it to the sport to keep up with them and work together with things.
Larry Jones asked if you ever noticed crappie nibbles making a difference like a bait. He said it had a positive effect on him the last time out. And as far as I'm going to go with this, absolutely. I think some scent on bait makes a huge difference. No doubt. Sometimes when the fish are very finicky and you get a strong bite that you can't, like you just said, you're putting the bait right on its nose. I think it gives something when they follow that bait and don't hit it, but they get super close. If they had just a little something of reality, I think it gives them that extra touch, gets that hook in their mouth a lot of times.
Yeah, that kind of.
There's so many baits.
Even. I mean, there's so many different factors that I know a lot of good fishermen I've known through the years that they literally wouldn't put a jig in the water without a niblet on or some type of scent. So my thing is, it doesn't hurt things to put scent on. So I have scent in the boat just for that simple fact that if there is a tough bite, I'm going to throw that scent on just because I feel with confidence that it will not hurt it at all. So,
I have dropped even here at Truman. I've dropped on fish holding dead still, dropped on them 4 or 5 times and held it perfect. And the fish either never move or the fish would come up and just go back down and it would sit still. And then it'd give me plenty of time to put scent on my bait and drop it back down, and I would catch that fish the first try. And that happened several times. So I know it works. I've tried it a million times. Recent tournaments, done it a lot. There's so many different bait companies and scent companies now that it's outrageous even trying to name some. But Bobby Garland has a slab jam they have come out that you can lather the bait with. But there's so many different scents that you can put on a bait. I think scent helps though, if you have a tough bite. Now in the spring when you got these fish super aggressive and biting, I wouldn't be going through the nuisance of using it. But I do agree. A lot of people are saying this, the older bass guys not liking the forward facing sonar. I could see that as well because it's it's kind of taken them a little bit more out of the game because it's a lot tougher to learn and a whole new aspect of fishing.
It's taken a lot of the older guys, me in that older category, out of the tournaments
Oh,
too.
now.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean,
Yeah.
Somebody younger, more agile. I can't hit a baseball like I did when I was 22 or 19 or 16 or
What
30.
about 25? Am I out of my prime?
Not yet.
What was your prime of your age? What was that number one age that if you think of, I woke up in the mornings, felt great, and I felt like a Superman. What age was it?
I'd say 24 to 28.
Ooh, I'm right in the prime then. You nailed me on the head, but I just don't feel it, so I feel kind of in trouble.
Maybe your prime was earlier.
Okay, I got you. Yeah,
I mean,
already
that's
passed.
how it goes.
Yeah.
I love.
I asked Ken that same question, and he said, "I'm in my prime right now." He said, "What do you mean?" He said, "I feel no different."
I can believe that with Ken Robinson, he's power crappie. He's a beast.
He is a beast, a machine.
At
He will
5'6".
Oh yeah.
Make sure we don't get any more questions for you guys.
Oh, there's another good tip. Tip it with a wax worm, especially in the spring. That is a good little hint there, you guys. A wax worm can work. I'm telling you.
That whole thing from wax worms, where I remember that big come from, was Caps and Coleman on Ross Net.
That's where I learned it, watching a video of them talking about it.
Yep, and they were fishing spawning fish on breeder stumps. That's where it hadn't said in a while. They were fishing my breeder stumps on Ross Barnett with wax worms. And we use wax worms after that a lot when it comes to even spider rigging and such. And I definitely think they work. Now they're kind of nasty to deal with, but hey.
Speaking of nasty, my best friend gets on here and comments and asks, do people usually start balding in their prime? Because I'm losing my hair. So appreciate that, Tyler. Yeah, I'd actually imagine I'm probably out of my prime since I'm losing my hair, buddy. You're right. And then Pat Robbins said, better let the wife answer if you're still in your prime or not. Oh, man.
I love it. Howdy from Louisiana. Appreciate you coming on tonight, man, with us. Rich Bates. There's another 10K crappie connection. Appreciate that as you guys carry on. If you got a question, nothing else, hit that 10K crappie connection. It helps us keep us in that algorithm good. So all the crappie connections you can do, all the likes and follows and shares, it just helps this show on the road keep going.
For sure. I appreciate you all for coming tonight. We got a lot of action tonight. It kept us busy. That hour flies by when you all help us out.
Yeah, I think Lee Pitts couldn't
get back on.
Internet issues. Never did get him back on tonight, but we'll get him again. I promise you. Lee Pitts, like I said, I've known him a long time now. We did some Grizzly Jig shows together back in the day, and also went down to Toledo Bend together several years ago and fished. But he's a really good fisherman, really good guy, and I'm glad to see he's still hanging with us.
Hey, Chad Gillen, I sure appreciate that. He gave me a little boost. He said, it's okay, Dustin. Mine's been falling out for 10 years now, and I'm 49. He said, hey, I save on shampoo. There's always a positive.
I'm just silently kind of laughing with you guys because I understand. So I'm not making fun of you by no means because I'm not here to laugh.
One for the balding guys. I think it's actually more of a wisdom thing. If you mature a lot faster than others, you tend to age quicker. So that's just kind of part of life. And that's how we know how to catch these slabs.
I guess so. Go back and on. If you haven't watched my top 5 different scenarios for crappie setups for the month of September, I cover from casting to pulling crankbaits to power trolling to vertical jigging. And I kind of go through each one of my setups with each one of those techniques, and it's on YouTube right now. Buck's asking when's my next video. It is being edited right now as we speak. Actually, I might have where I caught that hybrid on camera on video.
Ooh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Now you got my attention.
Yeah. That hybrid that I put out, I was rolling my GoPros and I didn't turn around and look at the footage. I just gave the footage off the hunter to play with, but the GoPros were rolling when I caught the hybrid. And like I said, I hate I didn't tag it. I won't let that happen again on a fish of a lifetime like that. Like I said, look forward to you guys. Whoever's coming into the Barnett when it comes to NCL, I believe it is, in October. Look me up when you get in town. We'll come over and we'll put you on today's bite if you get here in time.
Travis, good one. I appreciate it. I will definitely get after it out there. Appreciate the kind words, and you have a good evening as well. And then someone asked if we caught him out there at Truman with bottle wrappers and sunscreen. Now listen, the younger fish are a lot sillier, and we could have caught a lot of those little fish on a lot of things. You wiggle your finger in the water, they were going to bite. But if you watch that live video, he wasn't saying much about that bottle wrapper the second day when them bad boys wouldn't bite. We was trying everything. The bigger fish are a lot smarter, and it took a lot of enticing to get them bad boys to eat.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I was kind of laughing to myself because he kind of got it on that because day 2 he was just like, these things won't bite. They can't get them to bite, and I'm like, he just caught them on a bottle wrapper. Ain't nobody gonna believe that you saying they ain't biting.
Well, I appreciate you guys. We're at the hour mark, and we're trying to keep it around an hour every week. That way we don't just beat you on the head. We want you to join in every week with us Tuesday nights. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube, hit that follow on Facebook, and make sure you turn your notifications on. Cannot do it without everybody joining every week. And like I said, look at the Bandit 300 Bobby Garland colors if you get a chance. Crappie Connection 15 will get you 15% off. So make sure you take advantage of that. September is a great month to continue pulling crankbaits. And really, for me, on in through October as well. Seen guys catch them in December as far as pulling crankbaits. I don't think I've done it in December.
Maybe something we're gonna try.
It's possible. Might do a wintertime crankbait thing.
I'm coming next time. Either pulling or crankbaiting's working good. I got to come get me a dose of it. I know a good place to stay up there at the Reds.
That's right. That's right. But appreciate you guys for joining in every week, and we will see you next Tuesday night, 7 p.m.
See you guys. I appreciate it. Hey, Ricky, I like it. Hashtag 20K Crappie Connection is what he posted.
I won't go that fast into it, Ricky. I'll do baby steps. I'll do 12K Crappie Connection or 1250, but I got to get to 10K first. But appreciate everybody. We will see you guys next Tuesday night on today's fight. Holla.